HTML crash course, Introduction to Beginners. So today we're going to look at how to get started with the HTML, and of course we're going to look at step by step. We're going to look at it in step by step. Now, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is a markup language that is used for creating and structuring content on the web. So HTML uses a series of tags to define the structure and format of content, including text, images, links, and multimedia. And of course, these tags are read by web browsers, which render the content on the user screen. So, what are the requirements for you to get started with HTML? So you're required to have just a computer with an internet connection, a text editor or integrated development environment, that is an IDE. And of course, you can go for, let's say, you can go for which one? You can even use the one for Python, which is called PyCharm. There are others there, which you can also use HTML. Since HTML is a common programming language, you may want to go for various options that are there. Okay, now, what about, now, mostly we're going to use a text editor. And of course, in this case, we're going to use a VS Code, which is this one here. So VS Code is the one that we're going to use. We also have other types of other types of text editors, such as Sublime Text, Notepad++, Atom.io, and many others there. And of course, for example, the Sublime Text is this one here. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is the Sublime Text editor. And of course, you can use it to get started with your HTML, of course, so you can open which file that you want to open and then get started. It is also quite easy and good to use. It is similar to VS Code. However, VS Code is a bit advanced. So I would recommend VS Code. We go with the VS Code since the one that I'm going to be using throughout this tutorial. Okay, so let's continue. So next, you need a web browser to view your HTML. I believe you are a beginner and you're just starting out with HTML. So you can use a web browser for previewing and testing your HTML pages. So what you have here, we have a Google browser. We also have a Mozilla Firefox. So that is what you also have. So we have a Mozilla Firefox, and then we have Edge, and then Safari, etc. So you can use either of them. And here, what I have here is just I just have the Chrome browser. It's the one that I'm using, and it's the one I would like you to use as well, because with the Chrome, it has a bit, it's advanced in terms of even running your code within. For example, when you go to the inspect, you can see we have different items here, such as the element, the console, and so forth. It also shows you your real-time code. For example, in HTML, we also have things such as sources, network. For example, if you are running JavaScript and so forth, you'll want to go with Chrome because it has this inbuilt tools that you can use to inspect your code very well. So I would recommend we go with that. Now, next is you can also use a web server to host your HTML pages online, but it's just optional. So let's not dwell much on that one. What are the next requirements? The next requirement is just an absolute beginner, somebody who is just starting out with HTML, I believe. You can also watch it if you want to advance your HTML, or maybe there's some things you may want to learn. You may also jump right in. Another one is CSS is not a prerequisite, though we may use it at some point. So we are just looking at HTML in this tutorial. So that's what we have there. Okay, so as I've said, we are going to install the text editor, Visual Studio Code. So it's the one that we are going to use. Okay, so let's get started. So now what we have here is okay, so let's go to, okay, so how do you install? Even before we go to so let's check how to install VS Code. Now, installing the VS Code, you just need to go to the website, which is there, of course, the Visual Studio Code, or you can just come to your web browser and type Visual Studio Code like this, and then just click enter. So now what you'll be presented with, of course, is just the website. So here you're going to go to right click and then go to the website itself. So here you're going to go to download here. And once you click on this download, since I already have it downloaded, it will just download for you automatically for Windows. We also have other versions here. For example, if you are using Mac OS, just go ahead and download. It is just a straightforward thing. And then if it is Linux as well, you can also go for that one as well. So that's what you have in there. All right, so let's continue. So I believe you go there and then install it. And then once you are done with that one, you can go ahead and launch the the text editor. And of course, this is what I have. Okay, guys, so that's out of the way. So let's go to how to create an HTML file. So how do we do it? So looking at these steps, you can see here. The first thing you do is just to open the text editor, and of course we already have it open. Type an HTML, the head, the body, and then save the file with .html extension. So the first thing here you'd want to do is to make a folder, and already have a folder here. So this is the folder. So just come here and click, and then you should click, just right click and then new and then folder. And then once you have created the folder, just select the folder and open it. So your folder will just be opened right away, just like that. So that's what you have. Okay, now let's go to now what else do we have? Sorry about this. Okay, so now next we have is we are taught to start with the HTML. That is with the HTML, the body. Now the way so now the first thing we do, even before we do that, we can come up with just a new, for example, just come here and then just a new text file. For example, this new text file is the one that we can start typing our HTML, just like we are told in that example. Whereby we go with head, for example. Then within the head, we also have things such as title. So that's what we have there. And the title could be, for example, my let's say something like my website, for example. It's an example. And then down there you also have, for example, the body. And then lastly you have the HTML to close, and you can see it is this one here. And that's what we have within HTML. We have the head, you have the HTML, the head, the body, and then close the HTML. Now here you save the file as, for example, this is the home page. So the home page is going to have the index.html, and that's what we have there. Sorry, so I think I should have renamed this one, but let me just copy this code here. Let me just paste it here, since now this is the HTML. Let me just remove that one there, and then let me save. So now this one becomes our HTML page, whereby we have the HTML to start, and then we have the head, and then we have the body, and then we have the HTML to close. So that's what we have in there, and that's what we have here. So so how do we name our HTML pages? Of course, we save them with the .html extension, and that's what we have here so far. Okay, now let's continue with what else we have. Now So the coding is that one we have just done. So let's begin with HTML tags and their syntax. So what are HTML tags? HTML tags are basically the tags that you define within your HTML. So HTML follows what we call tags. And tags, of course, have the bracket of opening, the angle bracket, and then the closing bracket. And so far, what we have within HTML, we have, for example, H1, H1 to H6, which defines, of course, the headings within your website. And yeah, basically that's what we have within our HTML. So far, for example, we have the H1, we have the P tags. P tags are used to define paragraphs, you can see here. And then here we have, for example, the whatever you place in between the P tags is what we call the content, the inner content within your HTML. So that's what we have in there. And then we also have the anchor tags, which defines, for example, the hyperlinks. And we're going to look at these ones in details. So that's what we have within HTML tags. So far, these are some of the HTML tags that we have. So far, we also have IMG. So IMG defines the source and then the image, and then you give the URL. And then the alt, which stands for alternative, is the image description. For example, if your website loads and then there's no image, the alternative will be the one that will give the description of the image that is not appearing within your website. And we are going to look at that one. We also have the unordered list and list items. So the unordered list are the ones that are used to define the list items, for example, and what you can see here is what we have. So list item 1, item 2, item 3, and so forth. So we're also going to do that one as well. We also have the BR, which is a self-closing. So we have BR and HR. So what is BR? BR is the one that gives you a new line. For example, you have written a paragraph which is long within the entire web browser. So you want to separate and give one part of that paragraph to a new line. So you normally go for BR. We also have HR, which is for horizontal. And of course, this one you use it when you want to draw a line within your web. Okay, so let's code and let's see all this. So I'm going to begin. Let me take this one out. Now within HTML here, within HTML, we have so within the HTML we have this shortcut. So I want you to press your shift and then the exclamation mark like this. You get this exclamation mark, which is an Emmet abbreviation. So when you click that way, it is going to generate for you this boilerplate code that you're going to use to get started with. And of course, we can have this one is, for example, HTML. Let's say just define it as HTML crash course. So we're going to have it that way, and then we save. Now here, I'm going to start with headings. So headings like this, and then what you're going to have here is something like that. Now here, you can generate the types of headings that we have. So far we have the first one. So that is the first one. Sorry, this is what is doing. Okay, so this is the first one. So what we have here, we have the H2 example. You also have, let me copy and paste this. So there are 6 of them. So that's what we have. We have H2, we have H3. We have H4 like that, and then H5, and then H6. Okay, so that's what we have, and I can save that one. I can write this to be my heading 1, and then I can just copy this and then paste it there. So that's what I have. This is going to be 2, this is going to be 3, sorry, 4, and then 5, and then 6. So that's what I have. And then there's this live server that I'm using. It is an extension. You can look for it through the extensions here and just type live server here. Just type live server here and you'll get the live server that I'm already using here. It is a very handy tool that will help you to run your code whereby you don't need to refresh your page. You don't need to refresh your page, you just need to have it the way it is. So that's what we have. I can also separate these two just like this so that you can see what is happening here. It will be much easier. So that's what we have so far. So those are my headings. So you can see the starting one is higher compared to the last one. So that's how they are within HTML. Okay, so next we add, so we are still coding. So the next thing we add is the paragraphs, and of course the paragraphs basically they're also used to do so when you want to write paragraphs within your HTML, that's what you're going to have. So here you have something like this. So paragraphs start with a P and then they close with a P. You can also use this text, which is called lorem text, type, and then it will give you this image. Just click on it and then it will give you something here. So when I save, that's what I'm going to have. So this is the paragraphs that I'm having here. So basically paragraphs are just block level elements whereby for example, now let's give another one here as well. So you're going to have this and then we are going to have lorem like this. You can see now here it had to give a space to the next paragraph here. So that tells you something. Let me add also another one here. So you're going to have this is what you're going to have. So let me generate another one. And of course the lorem, and then I click enter. So I'm going to have the third one there. And what we have here, when I click on inspect here, I just want to illustrate the block level. You can see here the display automatically is placed as display block. So that tells you that paragraphs are block level elements whereby they give a new space. That is when you have different paragraphs. So they are, in other words, they are displayed as block. And then when you look at margins, block start is 1 EM, the end is 1 EM, inline start, and then so forth. So that tells you this is a block level element. We're also going to look at them in detail, but they are just block level elements in which they are given automatically a space for the next new paragraph. Okay, so next is what we have next. We also have the unordered list. So unordered list, I just described them. So unordered list, which are written this way. So unordered lists. So this is what we have. So we have something like this. Okay, so unordered list, they go with the UL. And then within the UL, we have the LI. This LI, I'm going to generate it with MS Code. I'm going to have that. Let's say here we have fruits. For example, we have mangoes. We have bananas there. And then we have oranges. Something like that. Now, when I save, you can see they are presented with these disks. These disks show that this is an ordered list, and with an ordered list, they only give disks. Let's look at another one. Just down there, we also have ordered list. So, for example, so we have ordered list like this. We have ordered list this way. Let me do that. So here what we have, so the ordered list are presented with the OL, just like that. So ordered list, and then of course they follow the same thing. So we are going to have so here we're going to have the same items here. We're going to have mangoes, we're going to have oranges, for example. And then lastly, we are going to have the bananas. Okay, so that's what we have. And of course, when I run this, this is what we are going to have. So you can see what we are having there. So the difference is that with the ordered list, they are presented with numbers, and then the unordered list, they just use the disks and so forth. So that's what we have here. So that's the unordered list items. Okay, now so you can use the control U within your keyboard. So the control U will just show you the source code. Now you can see this is the source code that is being generated within your browser, and you can see this is what we have so far. Whatever I'm writing, this is what we have. So control U, and then you're able to get this. So you're able to check. This is checking is the same as clicking just come in here and also clicking view page source. So it is still the same thing, but you can use control U as a shortcut, and I highly recommend using shortcut. You can also use function F2 to view the function F12 within your keyboard. So F12, you should be able to find it there. Now using F12, you're able also to see what, just like I was clicking the page source here, inspect, sorry. So you can also use the function F12, and then you're also able to view your code. You can see this styles is the one that is presenting the CSS, and so far we don't have any CSS. So the elements here is representing the HTML, and we of course know the HTML is the first language in our web. In any web development, HTML is always the first language that you will ever learn. So this is very important that you get this right. Okay guys, so let's continue. We also have what else do we have? I believe I've written. So we also have BR, and we also have so we have the BR. So the BR here, for example, going back to our example here, you can see this paragraph. Now if I wanted to add a BR, for example, within somewhere here, I'll just come here and add it like this. Now what it will do, it doesn't have a closing, it is just that way. What it will do here, it has just separated these two lines. You can see one has gone to the next line, not new line, to the next line. And of course you can use it when you want to give space within elements. If for example they are joining each other, so you want to give a space below it, you normally go for that one. Now for the HR, for example, you can use it here. The HR represents the horizontal line, and you can use it there. So when I place it there, you can see it just places the horizontal line within this part here. So that's the working of the HR. So that's what it does. Okay guys, we also have inserting images within your code. I also seen that. So we have inserting images, and we can do it here. So we can have so this is what we have. So here I have this, and then like that. Now to insert image, you just need to use the IMG and then the SRC, which stands for source. You can click enter there to get that double quotation, and then here you're going to give the URL of your image. And of course what you need to do, you need to come here, create an image a folder which is called the images folder here, like this. And then of course you'll want to come here, you'll want to insert an image. Now when I go to my web development where I have the HTML, so let me see the HTML crash course. So it's already here. So here you can add an image based on where you can find one. So for example, let me check within my videos photos. I should find an image. Let me see. So there's samples here. Okay, so this is one image. Let me see if I can find the where is it? It is this one here. So this is what we have. Okay, so I just click and paste it there. and the image has been pasted. So that tells you now within here you can see there is the image, and of course this is the image that I'm having. Okay, so how do I insert the image? Now you just come here. Let me reduce this one. So you just insert the image by using that way, and then it is even locates for you the image where it is. And then, as I've said, you can also give an alt, which stands for alternative, and then you can say this is a web image, something like that. Just this one depends on what type of image you have, and then you close. So once you close this, the image will be rendered on your web browser, and you can see that's what we have. And of course, you can do things such as, for example, resizing the image, whereby you can add the height, for example, of let's say 300, and then you also give it a width of let's say 200, depending on what you want to reduce. And of course, this is what we are going to have. So that's what we have so far. I can remove the width, for example, if I don't find it necessary, and just remain with the height. So that's what we have with inserting images using an ordered list, ordered and loaded, unordered. We have paragraphs, we have headings, and so forth. So let's continue with, I believe that's what we have. So let's look at the structure. I believe the structure of an HTML document. So what is the structure? So structure represents how is your document presented within your HTML. So far, I've just written random code, but what is the structure that we use so as to present all this within your HTML? So far, this is what we have. So we have the HTML, we have the doc type. Let's start from there. We shall look at what is a doc type. Then we have the HTML, and then we also have the head, and the head is the one that encloses the title, and that's what you can see there. So the title is that one there, and then we also have the body, for which of course this one represents the web page content which goes to within the body, and then we now close the HTML back again. It's very simple, very simple. So let's code and let's see how it works. Now what I'm going to do here, let me see. So I don't want to take this one out. So what I'll do, let me come here, let me make another, this was the index, of course. Let me just call it sample.html. So we're going to run the two of them. As I told you, shift and then exclamation mark, you get that boilerplate code, so that we don't have to write our HTML all the way from the start. Now the doc type here, we are going to look at it. We also have the meta tags, which they define data about. So meta means data about data. So here, whatever is rendered on your web browser here is defined within your it is defined within the HTML. So this is what we have. So basically what we have here is you can see when you come to your web browser, whenever your website is rendered on the web browser, the Google browser checks, for example, what are the details of this website and who is it coming from. So all these items are all defined within your HTML. So that's what we have in there. Okay, so let's continue. We also have the title. We have defined the title to be between your head, and you can see here we have the title. So the title here, we can also change it to, for example, sample. So we can change it to sample like that one, and that's something. So we are going to run that one and also check. So let me just close. Let me go live with this one. Okay, so that's what we have. So we have sample there. Next, what we have is defined structure of your web page. Okay, so we're going to have okay, so that's all here. I may just write something like this. So we are going to have page page title like that. And then next we're going to have is this is what you're going to have. So we're going to have so within the body we're going to have, for example, H1 like that. And then within the H1 here we can have the heading like that. Next we can have a paragraph, for example, just to define what is normally the structure of your HTML code. So that's what we are having there. Next we can also have an image. So here is just what we described. The content goes inside your image there, and of course here we have the src. Here we have the, for example, it could be the images that the images we add so far. That's what we have, and then we just close it that way, and then the image will be rendered. So what else do we have apart from that one? Now once that one is done, we can also have the hyperlinks. I think we have not checked on the hyperlinks, so you can also have an hyperlink so far. Okay, so we can also have the hyperlink, which is the href, and then within the href you can define a URL. So that's the URL, and then here the link. So the link text of the particular, the link that I will click, and then it will take me to this particular URL. So that's what we have. And then lastly we have what we call the, so that is within the body we also have the footer. So we can also have the footer. Let me see if this, yes, it is working. So the footer here, you can have something like this. So you can have, for example, copyright, and then you can have the copyright, let's say at 2023, something like this, and then example company, for example, something like that. And then you close this. Of course it will be a paragraph, so we are going to put the P, opening and closing. So let me just take this one out, and then let me put it there. So when I save, you can see that becomes the paragraph, of course. So that one becomes the paragraph. Let's give it a space. Yeah, so that's it. And then what else? We close with the body, and then we close the HTML. So now this is the structure of your HTML page. So this is just the structure of your HTML page. This is what you may be having. So where the body content goes to the body, and then you also have the footer, which is that way, and then we close with the body, and then with HTML and so forth. So that's what we have. Now let me do the hyperlink. It's important. So hyperlink, I think this is important. So hyperlink. Now with hyperlink we normally use what is called the H, and then href. Href, of course, is to represent a particular URL. And then here you close this, and then here we have the link text like that. So the link text, we have it there. So far it is not taking us anywhere because it can't get the link text. Of course, the link text would be something like google.com, for example. Sorry, google.com. Let me see. I believe this should be able to work. Okay, now so what we have here, I've just, okay, I just need to run this again. So this is what we have. So go live. Okay, and I'm live. I think that's what was happening. So now this is the link text to Google. So it should take me to Google. I think I need the Google website. So where's the Google website? Okay, let me remove that one, and let's copy this link. Let's paste it here. So that's what we have. So what's happening? I think I need the HTTP. Okay guys, so that is the google.com. So once you click on this one here, so coming to the link again, you click on this one here, should take you to, so it just needed the HTTP, and then we are good to go. Now, there's something else we call the target blank. For example, if you don't want people to leave your website, you can have people click the link and then it takes you to an external website. So what you can have here is where should it be? Link should be, so here we have something we call target blank. And target blank, what it will do here, looking at it, where is it? I think this one. So we have something like this. We have target blank. So that is it. So we have it that way. So target blank, what it will do, that it will, for example, when you come to click this link text here, the person doesn't leave your website, but it takes him to the next, to that link externally, but it still remains on your web, in your own website. So that is very important for you to have, okay, to know. So target blank, and then that's what we have. Now let's continue with what are doc types. So what are doc types? So a doc type stands for document type declaration, and of course it specifies the HTML or XML used within a web document. So far, it is an instruction to the web browser about what version of markup language the page is written in. And so far, for example, the one that we are using is used for HTML5. These ones were used for the earlier HTMLs. For example, when you look at for example, HTML 4.0.1, which is the strict type. This one was used for this one was used for the HTML4, which we don't use now. But the one that we are using here is for HTML5, and it's the one that you always have to define it on the top of your HTML code. So that means you are using HTML5. So that's what doc type stands, and it's very important that you know. And next we have is block and inline elements, and of course I have already talked about some of the block elements. For example, the paragraph, which I told you that it gives a new line. It is, in other words, it is displayed in a block level structure. We also have H1 to H6, and so far you can see the H1 to H6. You can see the next one here. It has been displayed in a block format. So when I go to the inspect option, you can see on this, my heading here, which is under the body, is displayed as block level, and then the margin that has been given is of 8 pixels. So here basically you can see that's what we have. So they are presented in terms of block. That's why they are called block level elements. So divs are also used there. We should be able to use a div. For example, divs can be used within your website. So for example, you have something like this. So here you have so let's say these are the divs elements. So divs elements, we have this is what we have. So we have, so you just define the div, which are block level elements, and of course you can have your lorem there. Next, let's just copy this one here, then let's copy it to the next. Okay, so this is what we have. Let's have our browser ready here. Okay, so that's what we have. Let me save that. You can see here, so we have the first one, and then we have the second one. Let me separate the link text by giving it these 2 BRs there, give a new line like this. Okay, so this is what we have. So let's do the inspection by going function Control F. Let's see how they are displayed. This is what we have here. So we are inspecting on this part here. You can see they are also displayed in blocks. So that shows you that they are also block level elements, and they are also displayed in such a way. Okay, so next we have is the inline. So inline means that they are the ones that occupy the space required by the content they contain. So they do not start on a new line and typically appear within a larger block level element. So examples are the anchor tag, the strong, the emphasis tag, and also the span tag. So far we have looked at the anchor tag, and of course you can see the anchor tags. They don't occupy a new line so far. It's only that I've given the two BRs. So we can do, for example, we have span. So let's just continue. There's a code here. So let's just code this code. So let's just look at this code here. So this is what we have. So we have this. So let me just do this quite a bit fast. So we have, for example, of course, we have the H1, which represents. So let me just give you this example quickly. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is what we have. So here, let me just illustrate the block and the inline elements. Inline. Okay, so we have that, and then down here we have this. I want you to watch this. I want you to watch this. So this is what we have. I want you to watch this. Okay, so I want you to watch this. So I want you to look at this. You can see here. So I've saved this one. Now this is a block level element, and of course what we have here is that within this code here that I've just copied here, you can see on this part here, this is a block level element. Of course, this is H1. You can see H1 is occupying, it's a block level, so you can see there's a space in between. So next is what we have next. So within the p tags are also block level elements. The next one is an inline, the span. So span, this is an inline element, as you can see here. So it is not taking up any new space, but down there we have a paragraph, which is a block level element. It takes a space in between. So that's what we have here. So block level element, you can see the paragraph, the element, you can see the span, and then you can see the paragraph again. So that tells you that that's what we have, or that's what you need to know about the block and the inline elements. And of course, we can do the inspect and be able to see what happens, what is happening there. You can see the displays block. I believe it should be on this part here. So let's click inspect there. Yeah, so that's what we have. And you can see here, you also have the box model, which is able to show you what is happening there. The padding, of course, the border, and also the margin. But so far, this is what we are looking. So they are displayed in blocks. That is the paragraph, the anchor tags, and as well as the H1 elements. And then we have talked about the other one being the, of course, this one being that is the strong, emphasis. Of course, they are all inline elements. Okay, guys, so the next item is the tag attributes. And tag attributes are used to provide additional information about your HTML elements. So here, what you're going to you need to know is tag attributes are used to provide additional information. So you can have a particular paragraph, and maybe you want to add the color to it, or you want to add something about it. So the tag attributes, they come in that manner there. So for example, let's code. So let's look at the tag attributes in an example. So this is what we have here. So this is what we have. So we have tag attributes. Tag attributes like this. Okay, so this is what we have. Then, so what example can we have? For example, let's say we have H1. We have H1. like that. This h1 is going to be something like this. This is an heading, like that. And then let me give also a paragraph. So a paragraph is going to be the P. Then we are going to have the following is inserted using the alt. Okay, so this is the alt. This is the alt attribute. Okay, so that's what we have so far. And then we also have an image. Now I don't even need to, but let me just do it. So also img is also, it is also falls under this, because here, for example, here the images. Of course, let me not give that image because it's already there. Now here what we have is, for example, we have the alt, and the alt here we have, for example, this is the example image, example, something like that. So what this one means is that, for example, the image you are using the alt, it means that we want to, it's an attribute, because we want to emphasize that if there's no image, this is what is going to be displayed. Now on the h1 here, we are going to do this. We're going to give this one a style like that, and then the style we're going to give it as color blue, example. So blue color, blue is that one there. So that one becomes the heading. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is an heading, and then we have placed it with a blue element. So what we are defining here is attributes. They just give extra information, and of course we add our heading, and then we have added a color into it. Of course, you can also do for the paragraph. For example, you can also give it a style here, just like style color, and then for example you also give it let's say, which one, let me use the orange color, and then we are going to have something like that. So that's what we refer to them as attributes, and of course we will look at them as we look at also CSS. So that's what we have. Okay, now next we have is let's go to HTML5 semantic tags. So HTML5 semantic tags are used are specific tags that provide, of course, meaning to your structure of your web content. And of course, semantic tags are just the header, the nav, the article. Here they improve the SEO, that is the search engine optimization for your website, by defining them. For example, when you talk about the nav, we are defining the nav, the menu item that you see. For example, the home, about, so forth. The article is when you are writing, for example, blogs and so forth. So that's what we have in there. So these are the semantic tags we have so far. The semantic tags we have so far. And of course, here we can have okay, so this is what we have, and of course we also have them this way. So you can see this is the structure of your website, whereby it should have an header, a nav, a section, an article, a footer, and a side element, and so forth. So that's what we have. All right, guys, so let's code this and let's see what happens here. So next we have is we have the HTML5 semantic tags. So that's what we have like that. Now the semantic tags, let's define them in a new page. Let's just go to the sample. Let me take this one out. Let me take that one out. We can also give this one as the HTML5 semantic tags. And of course, I remove this one. Just remain with this. The title, let me, okay. Now that's what we have. We can have, for example, within the header. So within the header here, within the body, we can come up with an header like this. Now within this header here, we can have, for example, H1, which says my website. Sorry about that. So my website like that, and then within my website here, I'm going to have a nav, which is going to be that way. So now within this nav here, I'm going to have this, and let me just copy this one because of time. So let me just to save on time. Now this is what we have. You can see here we have, of course, we have nav. Let me take out that one, and then we have the an ordered list. So far we have looked at what is an ordered list. We have looked at what are href, and then here the hashtag means it is not going anywhere, just returning the same page. And then we have home, about, and then contact. So now this is the first illustration of using the header. So that is the first illustration. Now let's go to the article part. The article part. Now on the article part, this is what we have. So we have this. So this means that here we are having an article. Within the article, we have an header, and then we have H2, and then the person who wrote the article. So we have the paragraph there, and then we have the article itself there. And then we have, what else do we have? Then we have this footer, and of course, footer is just the content that lies beneath your website. Okay, so once we have this, you can see this is what we have. So let's go to this sample. So let me go live there, and then just going to have another page displayed. Now you can see this is what we have, my website, and then this is what we have. Then we have the title, article title, and the person who wrote it, and then of course some paragraphs and so forth. So that's what we have. So that this is just an illustration of the semantic tags we have. So we have, for example, header, nav, a section, and then article, and then footer. For the section, that means, for example, this is main. You can also put this, for example, as a section. So for example, you can have this one as a section, the whole of it. So it becomes one section. So here you have this, and then for example, you close this one like that. It will still not have much impact. So it means, for example, you can come here and also have another section. So you have something like another section, and of course you'll have some content there inserted in there. Okay guys, so that is on the semantic tags that we have. So lastly, so that's what we have so far. So that's what we have on our HTML code, and you just need to understand these particular items we have looked at so far. So now with that one, let's look at tables. So let's look at tables. So we have not looked at tables. So those are the semantic tags that we have. So the next item there is tables. So we look at tables. So tables are this is what we have. So within the table here, how do you define tables? Because tables are groups, just rows. They consist of rows and columns. So you have what we call the table tag that you start with, which opens and closes. Within the table, we have what we call the table row. And the table row, you're able to define what we call, for example, the table header or the table data, which of course are the data cells. So here we're going to have the table header like that. And then we are going to have product, for example, just a table for product. And then we are going to have the table header again, and then we are going to have the price. So the product and then the price. And then of course we have closed it that way. Next we're going to have another TR, which is going to have table, the data cells now within. So here we are going to have the TD. Now within the TD here, we are going to have, for example, dollar. So we are going to have item 1. Then the next one is the one that we are going to have the dollar. So this is what we have. So we have this, the dollar, this is what we have. So we have, for example, $10 like that. Okay, so then I copy and paste this one. We just have like A2, and then that's all. So this means this is item 2, and we can have item 2 with, for example, $20 and so forth. Okay, so this is the first HTML. So let me close that one. Then let's go to the other one. Okay, so let me take out that one. So this is what we have so far. So we have this. We can also, let me give it the BR, give a new line, give some space below. Okay, so this is what we have. I don't know if it gave on the example image. Okay, so that's what we have here. So we have the table, the product, price, and so forth. Now within this table, you can also come here and place a border on this table here, like that. And then, for example, you give it a border of 1. It means that this table is going to have something like that. So that is item 1 and item 2 with a border. You can also give, for example, border 3, and you can see the border will be different. So that depends on how you want, what you want to do there. Okay, so that is on tables. You can also have the table with the table body. For example, you can have, this is the table, and then you can have something like this. You can come here and define this as table head. So we have table head there. Now within the table head, we are going to start it like this, and then we are going to close it here. So you can see what we have done there. We have just closed the table, the one that consists of the table head. So that's what we have there. That's what we have. Now this next one is the table. The next one that we're going to give is the table body, because this is the part that defines the table body. So you'll have scenarios whereby we have the table body and the table header, like so. So that's what we have in there. So let me just copy this one well. Let me see. Okay. So that's what we have up to that part. And of course, nothing will change because this is just defining the table header, and then the table header, then the table body, which makes sure that you are able to structure your table well within your HTML. Now, the last one we are going to look at is the forms, and forms are very important within your HTML. Forms are very important. So here we're going to look at forms like this. So we have forms. So what are forms? So form is just a way that you create your website so that you are able to structure your website in a different way. Okay, so how do you create forms within your website? So it's very simple. You start with the form tag. So within the form tags, opening and close. Now within the form itself, you can have something we call form action. For example, where do you want the form to submit to? So that is very important. Something that is used within forms. For example, you can have form submit. Now this is when you learn a backend programming language such as PHP, whereby you can give it, for example, I want it to have a post method which is secure to submit your form. And then next you can have, now let's continue with something else. Let me remove this cap. So here we have the next thing is here we have is the label, and then the label here, for example, we can have the label for is equals to name, and then we close, and then we have the name itself, and then the name, and then the label is closed. The next part we have is the input. So input, and then the input type becomes text. That. And then the text, you can also have an ID within that particular form that you are given. And of course, here we have name. And then the name is, so we have name, and then we have name is equal to name. Now, this is important when you are doing, you are using a backend programming language. For example, here I've just said name, and then it's required. Required means that with the nowadays HTML5, it gives us the validation method. Earlier, we used to use a certain programming language in order to do the validation, but now we have HTML5, which provides us with that, so we don't need this. Now I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste this next, and then I'm going to change this to email. So here we're going to have email like that, and then the input type here is not going to be text, but it's going to be email like that. And then of course here we're going to have name, and then name is equals to email. So here this is what we have. So we have email like that. So that's what we have. It is required as well. Okay, now the last one we're going to have is what we call message. And the message, of course, is just a text box that somebody can write his or her message to your website. So here you're going to have label, and then within this label, of course, the label is for what. So here we have message. So message, and then the message is equal to, going to close like that, and then like that. So that's what we have. Okay, so now this is the message, and then now after the message, the next part we'll have here is the text area. And the text area, of course, is the part that we want to give the message. Now the text area can have an ID, and ID will be message, so that if you are using a backend language, will reference the ID of the message. So here we're going to have message. Sorry, this is going to be like this, message that way. And then next we have is the name. So the name is going to be message, post message, and then we close this one like that. So now once we close that one that way, this is okay. So the last part you're going to have is the input. So the input is going to be input type, and then input type, of course. Now this last part is just the submit. So you're going to generate a button, and this button you're going to give it a value like this, and then you're going to give it a value of submit. So submit, and then we close it. Okay, so that's what we have. And then if I save this, let me give this a space between the table and this form that we have using the BR. So I'm going to have BR again. Maybe we give it another one. Then I save this. So far this is what we have. I don't know if this, why this table. Let me see if we can do some changes. Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, now that's why we need a CSS, so for us to be able to style up this particular form, for it to look somehow different. So that's what we have. This label should be for email, not for name. The label is for email, so that's something you need to have in there. Yeah, so that's what we have. That's what we have so far. That's what we have. And yeah, so this is just a form. And of course, when we click on submit here, the validation works because we have kept the required here. So you can see this required here is the one that is coming from HTML5, is the one that is telling us we need to validate that particular form. So that's how to write forms, and of course we can style this one using CSS. So we shall come back here again and do this with CSS and style up this form. So what else do you need to know? We also have quotations and sites within HTML. So we have things that we call quotations. You may want to know them. They're somehow important. So quotations, and then site. So this is what we have there. So quotation, site. So what are they? So there are two. So we have double, and then we have the single. So we have double and single. So those two of them, they are used within HTML. Okay, now let's look at an example. So an example would be, for example, let's look at a block quote statement. So you're going to have a block, it's a block quote, so opening and then close, and then within the block quote, we're going to have a p tag. And the p tag, you're going, of course, we can, let me give you this example here that I came up with. Let me give you this example. Okay, so this is the example. Let me just take out this one. Now this is the example, and when I save, this is what you get. You can see here life is 10% what happens to us, and 90% how we react to it. Charles R. Swindoll. So that means now this block quote is just using to emphasize, it is using to give a block quote statement, and then the site is there just to show this is the person who gave this quotation here. So that's how block quote and site are used in HTML. So you may want to use them at a specific part within your HTML. Now the other one here is called the abbreviation. So abbreviation, and abbreviation is used to give words with short forms, and of course to emphasize what that word simply means. So here, for example, you can have a p tag, and then within the p tag you can have, for example, HTML, and then you say HTML is, and then here you have the ABR, and then we have title. So title here is equals to hypertext markup language. So hypertext markup language, and then we close it that way. So here we have the markup language like that, and then lastly we close this with okay, so now we close it that way. So the markup language is then, and then here we need to finish with this. You can see here what we have is HTML, and then within the HTML we have the abbreviation title, which is markup language, and then the markup language is used for. So now let's look at this. So what is happening here is HTML is a markup language used to let me check. Okay, so this is what we have. So it's just the markup language. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is just the same thing. So this is what we have. So the markup language is used to create web pages. So basically what we have used here, we have used the markup language. Of course, I've just given some spaces here just to separate them, and then, but that's how it is. It is just used to give HTML, of course, its abbreviation. Of course, you know, it is hypertext markup language and so forth. So it means when you come here, I think should be where, yeah. So when you come here and you hover around, it shows you hypertext markup language. just a tooltip. So that's what abbreviation is all about. Now, lastly, we're going to look at meta tags, and meta tags are snippets of code that provide data about the web page. And of course, just from the start of this tutorial, I explained to you that meta tags are the ones that are placed here. So here you are able to give, for example, you can see, for example, they provide information about the web page to search engines and other applications. So for example, you can have the meta character set UTF, which defines the character of your web page. And of course, this is the one here, this one here. So that's what it's all about. All right, guys. Now the last thing here I want us to look at is how to create a blog example, for example. And so far we did one here whereby we started one blog here. So let me go live with this. So let's just see what is there. You can see here we have my website here. And then of course we have my blog. So we can have, okay, so this is my website. We have an article. We can add more articles within this article here. For example, if I copy this one and paste again here, I will have 2 of them. I can also generate another one. And then the copyright should be only 1. So what I'm going to do, I'll take that one out. And then I'm going also to do what? I'm going also to take this one out. So we have this one, then we have we also have this one here. So let me take that one out. Let's remain with what we have there. Okay, so the copyright remains on the bottom. These anchor tags, not anchor tags, sorry, but the nav elements will remain there. We can add some CSS. Now, if you want to add some CSS, we can do one we call the internal, whereby you can add within here. So here you can just come here and give, for example, let's say I give the H1 some styling. I give it, for example, text align center. It means that it will align my title to the center. And then I can also give it a background color of black. So we shall be looking at CSS. And then lastly, we have the color. So color, we have it there, which is pause. And then lastly, we have the padding. We can also give a padding in short. So padding is just the space around your content. We shall look at it in CSS. So padding is just space around the content. You can see that's what we have. Yeah, so guys, that's what we have for today. So this is just an example whereby we talked about this HTML5 semantic tags, and so far this is what you can come up with so far.